They say a decade can disappear in a blink, but it doesn't really vanish. It sinks into your shoulders and your hands. It smells like cedar and diesel and burned coffee. And then one day, a stranger in heels points at what you built and says, "You've got 14 days to watch it go." Yeah, that happened. I'm Mason Hale, not the loudest guy in any room, just the one with sawdust on his shirt and a short list in his pocket. And after my marriage, cracked down the middle, and the lawyers vacuumed up what was left. An old uncle left me a second chance. 100 acres of scrub and sky in Red Rock County, New Mexico. Half a tank past where the pavement quits and the radio fades. I didn't have a plan, so much as a promise. 4 piers, then 8. Framing by headlamp, cussing at bent nails, learning how to lift a truss with a ratchet strap, and prayer, learning the moods of the wind and the creek, learning how to eat canned chili 3 nights in a row without hating life. Somewhere in that mess, a dog found me. Big-headed mutt with shepherd eyes and lab shoulders and a dented tag that simply said moose. He growled at thunder, stole a strip of jerky, and decided we were a team. You know what I mean. We learned the lines of the land together. The old survey pin half buried near the cottonwoods, the yucca that will bite your ankles, the spot on the ridge where sunsets look like somebody set the sky on simmer. And after a couple years, I had a real roof, a porch solar, that hummed when the wind behaved a satellite dish that worked on Tuesdays, and a kitchen where my boys could flip lumpy pancakes every other weekend when the world allowed. Then the SUV came down my unmarked track like it had coordinates, and an ego-matte black windows tinted the kind of clean that makes you check your own shirt. And a woman stepped out with angles for bones. Tan blazer white blouse ponytail pulled so tight it probably kept her thoughts straight, and held out a folder like a traffic stop. "Are you Mason Hale?" she said, eyes already bored. "Yes, ma'am," I said, because I am. And because folks with clipboards drive lies like nails. She flicked her chin at my cabin. "You are residing in a non-compliant structure within Brookside Bluffs HOA. You're in violation of multiple standards. You have 14 days to vacate and remove the dwelling." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because sometimes absurdity elbows your ribs, ma'am. I'm not in your HOA. She gave me a smile. People save for lost tourists. As of last summer, your parcel falls under our annexation. Overlay, you can appeal with the county if you feel strongly. Said strongly, like she was complimenting a salad turned on her heel, drove off in a little cloud of confidence and tire shine, and Moose sneezed like he was personally offended. I opened the folder, because I'm dumb. Not that dumb. Saw county seals, and a map where my land was colored in, like a kid went wild with a crayon, an order signed by a name I recognized from the paper. So I called the one person who never made me feel like life was a test. I was failing. My attorney, Alonzo Rivera, out of Las Cruces, a voice warm as a July night spine. Like rebar. Email everything he said and don't let a soul past your fence. 2 days later, he called back and didn't wait for me to sit. "It's a forgery, Mason. Seal is real, but the approval code belongs to a snowplow grant. 3 counties over. The signature is a scan. The GPS points in the footer are lifted from a USDA plot in Missouri in English. It's garbage. And the name on my visitor's card was Miriam Cole Brookside Bluffs president, and apparently a pro at manufacturing emergencies. We didn't swing wild. We did it by the book, hired Bennett. The surveyor, who could read a plat. Like a poem pulled LiDAR tiles from a grad student who owed Alonzo a favor. Walked the fence lines with a metal detector that found an '89 bottle cap. And the original rebar pin my uncle set with a mason's hammer matched everything to the deed and the county index. And on day 3, the ridge coughed up a secret. In the southwest corner of my property, where the terrain tumbles and the juniper hides its own shadows, there was a fresh-cut driveway. I hadn't made a gate I hadn't paid for. And behind it, a modern house that didn't apologize for existing. Stucco walls, red tile roof, solar array, a hot tub, steaming under shade cloth, and a brass plaque that read, "The Coal House," like the punchline to a joke that got ugly. Moose didn't like it. Ears back, low growl, so we circled on our side, and behind a fake barn storage shed, we found a hatch set into the ground. Keypad lock, vent pipe, humming, not a storm cellar, not a septic lid, a bunker. We propped it with a shovel and went down into cold, organized air shelves of binders with tidy labels. 3 server racks, humming like a hive, a desk with a ring light. Because I guess confession looks better under soft lighting. Even a little espresso machine. Because crime likes crema. On a monitor, paused mid-sentence. Miriam with a glass of white. He'll never find this place. He lives like a hermit. We'll have that corner annexed by Christmas. And I didn't feel shock, just relief that I wasn't crazy. And under that, a slow heat that said we were done playing polite. Alonzo rolled up with a tech guy who looks like he sleeps in code. We mirrored the drives, bagged what needed bagging under Deputy Pike's eye, because Pike writes exactly what happened, and nothing more. And then Moose gave us the twist I couldn't have planned if I tried. 2 weeks earlier, I had strapped a cheap 4K wildlife camera to his harness to catch coyotes nosing the compost. Thought the battery died. Tossed it in a drawer. But it hadn't died. It had gone wandering. And on the clip, Moose pads through scrub to the edge of the coal house. While I'm in town for plywood. And there's Miriam in a sundress, giving a tour to a couple with golf-ready smiles. Technically, it's annexation overlay, paperwork's pending. No one's going to challenge it. And then she looks straight at Moose's camera and mutters, "That dog keeps peeing on my welcome mat." And I swear, Alonzo almost dropped his coffee. Your dog just handed us probable cause with narration. You realize that? Yeah, I bought steak that night. Bullies don't back up when the hallway gets crowded. They double down. So 2 nights before the emergency hearing, a box truck rolled up my gate, and 3 guys in gray shirts climbed out with a clipboard, and the look of men who get paid to make things disappear. "You hail, we're here to begin demolition. Under expedited order," the foreman said, like he was announcing lunch. "No," I said, which is a full sentence when you mean it. He tried to shoulder past. And Moose objected in fluent, dog-grabbed pant leg, leaned back like a tug-of-war. Champ didn't break skin, didn't even tear denim. Just made the point. And the clipboard hit the dirt. Same scanned signature. Same wrong code. Same coffee stain. Alonzo had already circled on a PDF, and that's when a sedan slid in, and Miriam stepped out like she was arriving at a ribbon cutting. "Why haven't you started?" she snapped. Then she saw me holding her fiction, and the blue wash of a second pair of headlights swept over her heels. Sheriff's cruiser Deputy Pike, calm and big-shouldered. "Afternoon," he said. Flipped through pages like a man grading homework. "Ma'am, this signature belongs to a clerk who passed away last year." The approval code references. Snowplows in Sierra Vista. The GP's is a soybean test plot in Missouri. That's forgery. No raised voice, no drama, just facts. And Miriam tried the last trick, pointed at Moose. "That dog is aggressive." And Pike looked at Moose, sitting regal with a rawhide in his mouth, and said, We have body cam and witness statements. The dog acted defensively when your men attempted entry. Without consent, that's instinct, not aggression." And then he nodded at his partner. "Cuffs, please." And the temperature dropped 10 degrees, while the crew remembered they had dentist appointments and left. Court smelled like old coffee and tired carpet, and Alonzo laid out the case like decking. Straight true, no gaps. The maps, the survey, the drone overlays, the bunker inventory, the mirror logs, the video. Where Miriam called my home, a shack. And then he saved dessert for last. The moose cam, and the judge actually laughed at the welcome mat line and covered it with a cough. Miriam's side said privacy and chain of custody and Latin, and the judge said in plain English that the bunker sat on my deeded land, that law enforcement supervised our mirror, that you don't get a privacy bubble to confess crimes on stolen ground, bail denied. Then the county called with a face like someone swallowed a tack. Turns out the coal house sat inside a riparian buffer that feeds the Dry Fork watershed permits. We're fake. The environmental report was cut and paste from Arizona. Emergency abatement order translation. You can take it down. I didn't give a speech or gloat. I called a guy with an excavator and a patient smile. Set up a tripod, put Moose in the passenger seat with the window down, and when the bucket took the first bite of stucco, it sounded like a door. Unlocking tile. Slid hot tub, caved a little empire folded in. 4 hours flat. Moose hopped out, sniffed a broken beam, peed with dignity. Nature's stamp approved. What was under that house was worse than the house. Those drives held a ledger of people squeezed by petty fines and fake violations. 30+ names, photos, notes like single mom, easy drum kit, leverage, paint code. Elderly couple, back gate out of spec, and money trails that smelled like bleach and bookkeeping shell companies. Billing for lawn crews that never mowed pest control, that never sprayed snow removal in a county that barely knows snow. Kickbacks braided into board stipends. The kind of boring crime that eats a town from the edges in. Someone leaked body cam. Someone else cut Moose's footage with a mock serious lower third. Exhibit B, Moose POV. And pretty soon the dog had a following. Folks mailed treats stamped. For the attorney, he refused the ones that squeaked. Maybe he could smell committee meetings on them. In the end, the charges stacked higher than lumber. Forgery, fraud. Trespass, evidence, tampering, racketeering, even animal cruelty. When a neighbor turned in a toy laced with sleep aids, the jury didn't take long. 15 years. No espresso machine, and a year later, the cabin finally felt like more than a defense. It felt like a home again. I built a low fence where the coal house used to stand. Not to keep people out, but to welcome them. In 3 benches, 2 water spigots, some agility. Ramps from scrap. A sign that says, Moose Meadow. All good dogs welcome. Petty tyrants keep out and on. The first Sunday, the whole town came. Kids threw tennis balls. A guy who used to glare at me at the feed store laughed when Moose stole his hat. A woman who'd lost her place to fines hugged me like I did. More than swing a hammer. And maybe I did. Maybe I just didn't fold. When folding looked easier. Here's the part you might argue with. I don't think HOAs are evil by default. I've seen them build playgrounds and keep neighborhoods proud. But when rules turn into weapons and power into a hobby, all it takes is one person with a stamp and an empty place inside to turn order into a slow robbery. And the only cure I know is neighbors who remember what a home is for. Maybe the question isn't, do we need HOAs? Maybe it's, do we trust people to be in charge of other people's houses without forgetting the people inside? And if you were on that jury, would you have thrown the book or looked for light? Do communities need stricter rules or better neighbors? Have you seen paperwork used to bully someone who couldn't fight back? Tell me in the comments where you land. Call out what's right and what's wrong. Share the story. If you think power without empathy ruins good towns fast. And if you think Moose earned another steak hit, like, let's see which verdict comes in first.